Hello everybody. This is the next chapter of Unit 4, International Trade and Business Growth. This is the content of that topic. Exports and imports, implications of increasing specialization by countries and businesses, foreign direct investment and link it to the business growth. So, throughout this lesson, we are talking and discussing about these three factors. Types of international trade. So now we all know what is this international trade. International trade means simply trading in between the countries, or trading or sharing, buying and selling goods and services across the countries. So there are main two types of this international trade. One is visible trade, other one is invisible trade. So visible trade means this involves trade in physical goods. That means the goods that can be seen, the goods that can be stored or can physically move, goods are sharing, called as visible trade. So here I have given you two examples. If Bangladesh sells their denims and if they purchase another thing, or especially if we talk about oil, if Bangladesh is going to purchase oil from Middle East, that is international trade, because Bangladesh, they are selling their production, then they are purchasing their requirements from other countries. Then here, next example I have given you. New Zealand, mostly they are very much specialized for the dairy products manufacturing, so they can sell their dairy products. Then they can import some other thing, especially the oil or any other materials they can import from the other countries. Then what is this invisible trade? Invisible trade means trading the services, especially tourism, housemaids, professional services, those are coming under invisible trade. International trade. International trade is the exchange of capital, goods and services across the international borders. That means among the countries. So this international trade is giving so many benefits to the customers. That means allow countries to obtain goods that they cannot produce domestically. Some of the countries, they are lack of technology. So if they are unable to produce some of the goods with that present technology or with the present environmental factors, those products, they cannot be consumed. But with this international trade, obviously they can import whatever the goods that they cannot produce domestically and able to consume. Next one is allow countries to obtain goods that have not bought more cheaply from overseas. Some products can be produced by each and every country, but not that much cheap. So sometimes when producing some product is too much expensive than purchasing those from another country. Therefore, without wasting money and time to produce those products in domestically with high cost, they can easily import those products from another overseas country and able to consume. Next one is helps to improve consumers' choice. So when most of the imported products are there in the market, it's easy for the customers to choose any product that they want. Otherwise, they may have to stuck their consumption only to the domestically produced goods. But now the international trade giving a good opportunity for the customers to find out different products they are in the market which are being imported by the other countries, as well as those products are very much quality enough. Sometimes those are very much cheap rather than the domestically produced products, as well as in quality wise as well as with the features wise, those are in a standard level. Next one is provide opportunities for countries to sell off surplus commodities. So this international trade means not only bringing the imported goods to their local market, but also domestically if a country can produce some product at lower cost, as well as if they can produce surplus of goods, definitely they can find another international market to sell these commodities. So all these things are giving as benefits to the customers with this international trade. So when we talk about international trade, there are main two concepts we have to discuss. One is exports, other one is imports. So in this slide I am going to discuss exports with you. So exports are the goods and services produced in one country and purchased by residents of other countries. So businesses or the countries, they are producing these goods and services with export intention sometimes. That means if they can get the competitive advantages over the other countries, definitely they look for that product to produce with surplus and to export. What is this competitive advantage? That means some of the countries, they are very much rich with some of the resources. So just imagine oil or the crude oil, rather than producing those by our countries, Middle East countries, they may have that resource very well. So they can produce those oil at lower price, as well as they can send to the whole world. And then the cost also cheap. But all the countries, if they are going to extract oil and have to find out those things first by doing lots of experiments and all, then after finding out, even if they are going to extract them, sometimes they may have to spend more money rather than purchasing those from another Middle East country. So competitive advantage means, with comparing to the other countries, if a country can produce goods or the services in a quality manner at lower cost, that is called as competitive advantage. So countries are mostly selecting such items to produce with surplus and then export to the entire world. Other thing is, they are better than the companies at providing that product with low cost and high efficiency. As I explained you earlier, if a country is rich with a particular resource or any other technological richness is there with them, they can definitely produce those things at low cost as well as high efficiency, because employees also being very much efficient, as well as they are also being very much talented and skillful with that particular industry work. So their efficiency is high, effectiveness is high, then ultimate productivity also high. So here I have given you few examples. Kenya, Jamaica and Colombia have the right climate to grow coffee. Yes, Kenya, Jamaica, Colombia. So their climate for grow of coffee is very good. Then other than look for the other products producing in that country, they are giving high attention to grow up their coffee industry. And New Zealand, Denmark, Australia, those countries are very much good in producing dairy products. So their climate also good with that. Therefore they look for it. Then Africa. Most of the African countries, they can extract diamond and gold from their earth. So therefore those countries, without producing different products in their country, they highly focus to produce and extract those things from the earth and then produce as a surplus and then targeting the entire world. There are some other points also we have to discuss under these exports. Especially governments, they are giving more encouragement to the exporters. So those who are producing domestically with surplus, and if those who are willing to send the products to the export market or the international market, from the government side they are getting lots of encouragement and the support. Sometimes government is giving tax releases as well as some subsidies to the exporters. So those are kind of financial encouragements given by the government for these exporters. Other thing is, when encouraging these exports, definitely as a country they can earn high foreign currencies, and that means export income will be high. And if that export income is greater than the import expenditures, then it will be uh, favorably affect for the balance of payment. That means balance of payment may run with a surplus or else a less deficit. Then these exports are creating more job opportunities, as well as those are giving good remunerations or salaries and wages to the employees, as well as finally the standard of living of these residents in that country may improve. Then these exports are becoming another key aspect they are in the country, other than uh, producing just the products they are in the market. So if some industries are actually targeting the exports market, definitely that is the key point that the business or that the government can gain good revenue from that. In this slide, we are going to discuss the advantages of exports. First one is increase sales and profit. Definitely, if a business or the country is going to engage in the exports trade, it lead to increase the income through that. Therefore, the sales volume and sales revenue increasing, as well as the profitability increasing. Then, enhance the domestic competitiveness. Domestic manufacturers are able to compete with the foreign businesses. So within the market also this competitiveness is going to increase. Next one is, when the countries are engaging with the exports trade, they are able to get the global market shares rather than the local market shares. Next one is lower unit cost. That means when targeting the international trade means they have to produce goods with surplus. That means not only to the domestic consumption but also targeting the international trade. Therefore, the total cost may be very low with respect to the number of outputs that they are producing. Next one is compensate for seasonal demands. Seasonal demands can be obtained, as well as high revenue can be obtained. So likewise there are advantages of exports industry. Another type we have to discuss under international trade is imports. Imports are the goods and services that are bought into one country from another. That means if we can't produce a product with low cost, or else we can't produce it with the current environmental factors, or else if we don't have any technological advancement of producing such product, definitely we may have to import those products. That means have to purchase those from another country. So that is called as importing. So importing means a country is paying to another country and purchasing goods and services. So this is kind of money outflow from the country. So under exports we discussed money is coming to the country. They can earn the foreign exchange. But this is a total outflow session. Therefore, countries or the governments, they have to have a good attention as well as the control over these imports. Otherwise, too much of imports, unnecessary imports may cause severe damages to the balance of payment of that country. That means export income will be lower than the import expenditures. That means expenditures will be greater than the income. So by that time it will lead for a balance of payment deficit. Therefore, governments are not that much encouraging these imports, but essential imports or essential goods and services must be imported, But other than that, some other unwanted, unnecessary items are not that much encouraging to bring to the country. Therefore, from the government side, they are putting some of the restrictions to the imports. That means sometimes you can see some governments are imposing high taxes or high tariffs, as well as they are putting quotas, embargoes, or else red tape, that means too much of administrative barriers to minimize the imports which are coming to the country. So, what are these quotas? Quota means it's a physical limit of bringing the items to the domestic market. So, if the government put a particular physical limit, then importers cannot import more than that. Other thing is embargoes. Some of the identified products are totally banned to bring to the country. That means some of the drugs, some of the other items, especially the government is putting very uh, strict restrictions on these items. Therefore, why government is highly controlling these imports means they want to reduce the money outflow from the country and they want to maintain a healthy balance of payment. In this slide, I am going to discuss the disadvantages of imports. First one is unemployment will increase because if a country is going to import almost all the items from other countries, there won't be any industries there in the local market. So, the present employees they may lose their jobs. Therefore, the unemployment rate of the country may increase. Next one is local manufacturers will lose their business orders. So, when all the businesses, as I explained in the first point, when all the businesses are importing the items from other countries, there won't be any place for the local manufacturers or the domestic manufacturers. Next one is can't return the damaged or the poor quality goods easily. So if we purchase something from a nearest shop or the local market, we can return if there are any damages or the unexpected quality items. But when we import something from another country, it's very much difficult. The process is long and it takes time to return those back and get the compensation. Other thing is reducing the income of the host home country. That means when purchasing everything from other countries, there's a huge money outflows from the country, as well as with respect to the amount of imports, the current exports are not bringing that much of income to the country, then definitely there will be lack of income to the country. Other thing is because of this lack of income, it may cause for the balance of payment deficit or the balance of payment issues because expenditures, import expenditures will be greater than the export income. Implications of increasing specialization by countries and businesses. So specialization means doing the production with a specific area that you have the talent and the resources. So countries are being specialized. Countries they can specialize based on their natural resources or else the technological advancement that they have. So with that they can definitely produce the goods and services at lower cost as well as they can produce a surplus. So here I have given you two examples. Denmark, they are producing dairy products at low cost in very quality manner, as well as Middle East also they are the specialized or specialist in oil manufacturing. In this slide I have given you two examples for country specialization. First picture shows you the oil plant in Iran. The other one, a dairy farm in New Zealand. So according to the natural factors that they have or the resources that they have, New Zealand is being specialized with dairy production. That means milk, butter, cheese and other dairy items. And then Iran, according to the resources, according to the technology that they have, they can extract oil and they can distribute to the world. So their total economy is depending on this oil manufacturing. Therefore, they are producing their domestic consumption with surplus. That surplus they are exporting to the countries. Other specialization we have to discuss is specialization by businesses. This means businesses can select one or few products to produce at a lower cost by adding their maximum resources. Rather than spreading all the resources into produce different items in small quantities, but if they can allocate all the resources into one product and then produce the maximum or with the surplus is called as specialization by businesses. So this specialization is bringing them so many advantages. One thing is they can produce the products at lower cost. Other one is they can be competitive in the market, because some other manufacturers sometimes they are unable to produce the same product with that much of lower cost. Therefore, according to the resources, physical resources as well as the human resources that they have, if they can produce those in a maximum level, then they can reduce the average cost of production as well as able to send the products at somewhat reasonable price to the market. Next part we have to discuss is foreign direct investments. So foreign direct investment means one country or one business is investing money in another country. So why businesses and why countries are investing money in other countries rather than investing those money in their own country? Because these selected countries sometimes may have emerging economies. Their economic growth rate may be high for the moment. Sometimes some of the businesses they have identified such host countries to invest money, because in those countries the labor cost is low as well as some natural resources are available cannot be found in other countries. So with these aspects, some businesses as well as some countries are highly involving with these foreign direct investments. So these companies are investing money in such businesses or such countries, sometimes with the intention of acquiring them or else to get the proper control over that business. In this slide, we look forward why the countries are investing money in other countries. So these are the main reasons. There is a high potential of making profit if it invests in a new location. Especially the multinationals or else the developed countries, they are the ones who are investing or who are doing these foreign investments in other countries. So they look for the high profit. So the selected new locations, if they are having a lower cost of production as well as special resources, so those things are obviously caused to lead the profit of the business. So this investment is doing mainly to make the profit in a maximum level in that new location. Other thing is need to maintain the control over its subsidiaries in the new market. That means especially the multinationals or the developed countries, they want to keep the control over the entire market. So before the other subsidies enter to the market, enter to the international trade, they are trying to spread their hands towards the other countries and catch up their markets. Next thing is trying to acquire direct knowledge of local market. Some of the local markets or some of the countries, they may have pure knowledge about some of the areas. So those are some specialist knowledge in those countries. Therefore, these multinationals as well as the foreign countries and the companies, they are trying to acquire that special knowledge towards them. So by investing money in those developing countries as well as non-developed countries, what they are trying to do is they are trying to gain the maximum profit, maximum knowledge from them, as well as to maintain the proper control over those markets. Next one is attempting to avoid barriers to the market. That means when they catch up those markets, they can avoid the barriers. They can give a pressure to the local governments, and with this direct investments, they can demand for different requirements that they want to maintain their businesses in such countries, because most of the local markets, they are trying to maintain very strict restrictions and the barriers over the international businesses. So if these developing countries are maintaining such barriers, means because their main intention is to protect the domestic market as well as the domestic manufacturers, but all the governments, they are willing to get the investments anyhow, especially the developing countries, because their own investors don't have that much of money and they don't have that much of confidence about the economy in that country. Therefore these governments are highly appreciate if the foreign investments are coming to their country. So in order to attract to those foreign investments, sometimes they may release some of the barriers they have put to the market. So the foreign direct investors also main intention is getting less barriers or less restrictions in that market, and the available restrictions are being released. This slide shows you the different forms of FDI. So there are main three different forms: a joint venture, or the strategic alliance, or buying through cross-border mergers and acquisitions. You can go through this one and able to understand what is this different forms. Another method of foreign direct investment is horizontal FDI. This means investing money in a company which is also there in the same industry. So here I have given you one example. You can read and understand. Other method of FDI is vertical FDI. This means acquiring or merging another company which is there in another industry. So why businesses are doing such acquisitions is because those are giving full support for them to maintain their main business. So in this example, if a firm opens a call center in another country to deliver customers or the staffing support, so this could be lower its cost and allowing growth in revenue or the profit. So business, they may have forward vertical FDI as well as the backward vertical FDI, because all these forward vertical FDI as well as the backward vertical FDIs are giving the support to the main business to run in a smooth and the profitable manner. So in this slide I have put you 2019 January Unit 4 paper. Question number 6 I have taken. Evaluate extent to which foreign direct investment leads to increased growth of international trade. So I have given you the analysis points and the evaluation points only. First analysis point is the question is related to the Apple case study. So when a company such as Apple invest in China, definitely what will happen? The resulting output is then exported for sales all over the world, thus increasing international trade. That means Chinese gross domestic production also increasing when Apple invest in China. Next, Chinese employees, those who are working in Apple, they may gain a good income and their spending on goods made not in China, thus increasing the imports also. That's how it's giving some kind of impact to the imports. Chinese employees in Apple, they may get a good income, they may look for good items or the goods, then they may go for the imported items. Therefore that is a kind of a favorable effect for the international trade. Next one is Chinese employees are also more likely to go on holidays as they are having a good income. Therefore, the tourism is rising rapidly and is an invisible export for many countries. So, we have to think about invisible imports and exports as well as the visible imports and exports. So, therefore, with this tourism development, the Chinese invisible export also may increase. These are the evaluation points with the question. There are several other factors, that means other than FDI, for the development, for the increase of the globalization or the international trade, some other factors also equally involving. Next one is the creation and expansion of trading blocks. Remove trade barriers, making trade cheaper and easier, which lead to an increase in international trade. So nowadays, these trading blocks are giving a very significant impact for the development of this international trade other than FDI. Then developments in transport, that is also another factor, has been highly involved with the international trade. So the transport development, communication development, containerization, those things are highly involved with this development of the international trade. Children, at the end of this presentation, I have put you some questions for your. Thank you and have a nice day.